Good Wednesday morning. It's still Saturday, I have to admit, but I'm going to take Lily out in a second. You see, I have my radio Boone and Crockett sweatshirt on. It's full of holes, but it is my comfort shirt, my sweatshirt. I've got to go. It's crummy out, cold, and I think the snow stopped. Whatever. Today is the continuance of the same readings from Hebrew and Mark. But I'd like to share a thought with you. Today's the 20th, okay? It's an extremely important day, okay? It's a transitional day in which the presidency moves from President Trump over to President Biden and the new leadership in the nation, according to our Constitution and the proper procedures of law. An extremely important day. I never thought I'd ever say that in my lifetime, but given what happened 14 days ago on the 6th, anything's possible. Unintended, I don't believe this was intended as a coup, but it became one. When a handful, it's not a lot, of protesters, and I have deep respect for the First Amendment, believe me, okay, I'll tell you in a minute. Once they crossed that barrier and they literally invaded the Capitol, that's a coup. It's a seditional act because it overthrows the proper rule of government. You see, that's punishable at the highest level. You must retain order in a governmental system and law. The rule of law, constitutional law, has to be retained in order to have civility in a public society. There's where the Pharisees are right. You can't just lovey-dovey. You have to have law. And the more diverse a society, the more it's important that you have constitutional law and due process. So these men that invaded women followed due process in being prosecuted, but they got to be prosecuted. But then due process. And their rights have to be protected as well, okay? On the other hand, the nation must be protected against sedition, even unintended sedition. In my opinion, even President Trump may have to answer, not because he intended sedition or insurrection, but because he fed it. You got to answer. It's a great line in Godfather 1. You got to answer. You got to answer for Carlo. Carlo, you have to answer you have to answer. Yeah, see? Got to answer. I blew that, okay? You got the point. Got to answer. You have to answer. If you have the power, the extent you have power, you have responsibility. You can't get careless. I could shoot my mouth off till the cows come home. You're watching me doing it now. It's harmless. I'm a nobody and a nothing. I'm not president of the United States, most powerful man on earth, okay? I say A, something happens. If I'm president, when Theodore Vitale says A, somebody says, B follows. Don't worry about nothing, okay? And I'm saying these remarks were made by me, and I'm a conservative Republican. You got to know that. I lean libertarian. That's how far to the right I go. Good grief, okay? My colleagues laugh at me. I'm the most extreme Republican, I think, at St. Louis University. One of my colleagues, a political philosopher, said, you're not a Republican, you're a libertarian. See, I'm committed deeply free speech, rule of law, okay? Freedom of the market. Yes, First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights, yes. The right to bear arms. I am fiercely conservative, and that's why I'm saying what happened 2 weeks ago on the 6th was frightening. I am still afraid 2 weeks later, still afraid, because I saw the closest thing to anarchy in this country. The first time, and I lived through the 60s, through the rioting of the 60s, but that didn't come from the top down, that came from the bottom up. This is coming from the top down. It's fed by the president. Maybe unintended, but he fed it. And those were his followers. Some describe it as his own militia, which is a terrifying thought. If you know anything about 20th century history, it's frightening. Okay? That's how dictatorships take place. Anarchy occurs through the breakdown of law, and then the strong man emerges. That's what happened. What do you think? How do you think Hitler emerged, or Mussolini? Even Stalin and Lenin in the wake of and through the Russian Revolution. You see? Chaos always breeds a power structure. Power, and it's personal and it's dictatorial. And people will side with it to restore order, but then sacrifice their own integrity and their own freedom in the process. Be careful. What you never want in society is anarchy. What you want is order, following law, the due process of law, the rule of law according to the Constitution, through the courts, through the political systems, etc., through policing, properly done, etc. And punishing punishing where punishing is required, but not beyond what's required. So this is a very, very important period. Very important. I never dreamt it in my lifetime I would be this afraid for the future of the nation, because we came the closest to anarchy. God help if they had overthrown the electoral process on the 6th. I don't think it was possible, but if they did, and reinstated the president because of the power that they exerted in the chambers, God help us if they assassinated Pence, which some wanted to hang him, etc. Wow. Wow. If that doesn't terrify you, one of us doesn't know when end of the stick is up. That is terrifying, literally, because you were entering the reign of terror. That's what happened in the French Revolution. They went into the reign of terror. What happens is the mob rules, and then the will to power takes over, and there is no law. There is only the law of power. Power executed with a vengeance. That's the terrifying situation. I am not a Democrat, but I prayed for, this morning when I said Mass, I prayed for Dr. Biden. Come on, what's the matter with me? President Biden. I prayed for the well-being of the nation, that he brings stability and order. And I pray for my party, the Republican Party, to renew itself according to its principles, and not by the worship of the individual, some kind of fealty to an individual, but only loyalty to the principles of the party, so that the party will be strong in articulating what I think are the most fundamental values in an American constitutional society. Okay? I am a conservative Republican. I want the Republican Party to restore itself, okay? It needs to be restored from a person to a set of principles, from following a person to following the principles that constitute the Republican Party. Globalism, strong military, freedom of speech, freedom of the market. Yes, I'm a libertarian. I want that market free. You see, I defend fiercely, by the way, First Amendment rights, okay? Oh, boy. I'm in the academic world. I'll tell you what it looks like in my racket, okay? Not only freedom of speech, but academic freedom. In my 28 years as chairman at SLU and 9 at Bellarmine, I fiercely defended academic freedom, even when the person holding the position I didn't agree with. I didn't care. That faculty member had a right to his or her thoughts and to teach it his or her way, as long as they followed authentic rules and didn't bully anyone. And it's tough to bully somebody in the academic world. Somebody will always there to take you apart, okay? I fiercely defend it. There is no university without academic freedom. There is no society without freedom of speech. None. And I fiercely defend it, even when it's in opposition to what I hold. Those people who are protesting on the street had a right to that. They didn't have a right to become violent, but had a right to speech. Much as I disagreed with them, fiercely disagreed with them, and a right to speech. And I would defend their right to speech, not their right to cross the barricades. Cross the barricade, you're playing with death, your own. I mean that, your own. You cannot threaten the nation that way in the rule of law. You can't try to muscle it, even if you're stupid enough to think of it as a game and fun. That clown that was in the vice president's office, his feet up on his desk, he's lucky he's alive. In most societies, they'd have gunned him down, okay? They'd have put him against the wall and shot him. I'm not kidding you. They got away with it. He looks laughable. He's so stupid, okay? He's so incredibly stupid, okay? He's lucky he's in America. Any other country, he'd be dead in the ground right now. So would the others. That's being honest. Not the people in the crowd, people in the house. That's the truth. Thank God for the rule of law. It's protecting him even though he violated it. The rule of law will protect him and give him a fair hearing. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. We live in a very, very difficult time right now. Not just a pandemic, but the instability of the social arena, the political arena. We need stability. I pray that Biden, the Democrats, and the Republicans together. I have a great respect for Mitch McConnell, by the way. I knew him when he started, okay, in Louisville. I hope they bring a concerted effort of orderliness and rule of law and respect and honoring of the Constitution. Our nation needs this. I prayed this morning at Mass for our nation.